Hi, this is Katie with craftingwithkatie.blogspot.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this birthday card using the Cricut Imagine. So, to start off, I'm going to go ahead and cut my card base, this layer here, and then I'm going to show you how I made the pattern layer using the Imagine. My card base is Melon Berry cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. And this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, so I'm going to cut it at 5.5. And then I'll just be folding this in half. And this is a little piece of vintage cream that I want on top as another layer. So this will need to be 5.25 by 4 inches. So it's already 5.25, so we'll just go to 4 inches. Trim a little bit off. Okay, and then on top of that, there's actually going to be another layer of melon berry, another 1/4 inch smaller in each direction. So this will be 5 inches by 3 3/4. So we'll do 3 3/4 here by 5 inches. And this paper cutter is from Making Memories, and it works great. I got it at Michael's with a 50% off coupon. I really like it because it stays sharp. What I'm going to do next is use my Gypsy to figure out what size rectangles I'm going to need to print with my Imagine, because I don't want to waste any of my ink. So I'm just going to use the Gypsy to figure out the sizing. I can't connect the Gypsy to the Imagine yet. That's an update that hopefully will be coming soon, because once you have a Gypsy, you really can't cut without it. You get so used to it. So Designer's Calendar, I went through, they had a rectangle. See if I can find it. It's right here. I liked this one because it's longer, and that'll help me get some long strips for the diagonal without wasting too much paper. If I do a wider rectangle, there'll be a lot of waste. So I'm just going to use my Gypsy to go ahead and find this shape. So I'm going to go to my screen where I can choose a cartridge. I'm already on Designer's Calendar, and I noticed it was the boxed button, so I'm going to hit that. And there it is right there. Alright, to figure out exactly the size I want, it's going to help me to see the size of the rectangle I'm going to be gluing these strips onto. So I'm going to add another layer. And if I go to Don Juan, there's a great just plain old rectangle. That's where I always go. I know if you have Georgian Basic Shapes you would have that, but I don't have that cartridge. So if you go to Don Juan and hit the Shift key, there's a rectangle, and the piece that I'm using is 3 3/4 by 5 inches, so I'm going to go to the real dial size. My width is going to be 3 3/4, 3.75 inches, and my height will be 5 inches. Okay, this will help me get just the right size. So I'm going to go back to layer 1, and I'm going to actually turn this, I'm going to rotate it so it's going to work on the diagonal, because those strips will be going that way. Alright, so go back to the basic screen, and now I can just enlarge this. Let's see, and you know, it looks like that'll be just right. So that's at 3.44 inches. The Imagine goes by 1/10 of an inch, so I will end up cutting my rectangles at 3.5 inches, which will be perfect. I won't waste any paper. I've got my Imagine turned on, and on the right side, the Imagine cartridge that I've loaded is Best Friends, so I'll be using the patterns from that. And on the left side, I have the Designer's Calendar Cricut cartridge, which has the shape I want. And that's the screen it's showing right now. So we're going to go to Boxed, and I would like 2 of these rectangles. And now I'm going to work on editing the 2 rectangles to show exactly how I'd like them. So if you click on one, you'll get this little pencil, and then you can see the different patterns we have. And the first one I want to use is this. And if you look here, it has true size, which is like real dial, and relative size. And the one I want to use today is true size. So I'm going to click on that, And my true size that I want is 3.5 inches. Perfect. So we're going to apply that. And then for my second rectangle, I'm going to choose a different pattern, which will be this one over here. And again, I want my true size to be 3.5 inches. Great. So we'll apply that too. Now, to get the little girl on my card and her dress, that was on the Best Friends cartridge. So I'm going to click over here to switch from Designer's Calendar over to Best Friends. There you see it. And this is a birthday card I made for my niece who'll be turning 6 in a few weeks. And I tried to pick a little girl that looks the most like her. So I actually picked her. But I didn't want to use all of the layers. So I'm going to click on the pencil to edit. And I'm going to click the layers button. So I get all of the layers. And I'm going to go back, actually I'll keep it at true size. I made her 4 inches. Click apply. And you can see up here all of her layers, but I don't actually need them. All I actually want is the little girl and her dress. So I'm going to click behind the tiara and I'm going to get rid of it. I'll hit the minus sign. And then the hair, get rid of that one. The face, it's on the original body, so I don't need to pop her head up. And that's all I have. So I have the 2 rectangles that I need, the little girl and her dress. So now I'm going to hit next. And you can see it came out on 2 pages. So if I hit the back arrow, I can see what my first page looks like. And it wasn't able to fit them all on there. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and cut. I learned something new about the Imagine. Apparently, whatever you did last with it, it's going to default to. So yesterday when I was using it, I did cut only. And so when I went to print out this project, it just cut it. It didn't print it. And I didn't want to waste the paper, so I just ran it through and I changed the settings to print only, which worked, except it didn't line up perfectly. But that's okay, because for this project it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to trim off this extra little piece here. So I have my Fiskars paper cutter, which is better for when I'm working with smaller pieces. So I'm going to just cut off this, and I'll cut off the white that ended up on the end. And then hopefully it will still work as a diagonal. Just made it. Wow, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to cut this in 3/4 inch strips. Okay, so now that I have my 3/4 inch strips cut, I'm going to start taping these down to my base. And what I'm going to do is just use my ATG gun and just do 1 strip right down the middle. And then as I put the strips down, I'm going to alternate the 2 different patterns from the Imagine and just leave, I'm going to eyeball it, but it'll be about 1/8 of an inch in between each strip. All of my pieces are adhered now, so I'm just going to flip this over and use a craft knife to cut off all the extra. I'm using my score pal to score the base of the card, so since I want this to be a 5.5 by 4.25 card, and right now it's 5.5 by 8.5, I'll score it at 4.25. And then I'm going to use my Color Box chalk ink, cat's eye, just to ink around the edges of the front of my card. I'll do this for the next layer too. This next layer is Paper Tray Ink Vintage Cream, and I thought it just worked great with the patterns from Best Friends. And I really love that the Best Friends goes perfectly with the melon berry cardstock. So you don't have to cut everything out with your Imagine. You can use other papers that you have already. So now I have this. We're ready to adhere this down. So we'll use the ATG gun. Put this down in the center. And then our cute little pattern paper, oops, which has all its extra stuck to it. We're going to adhere this as the next layer. Perfect. All right, so for my original card, you can see I did cut out this girl. I decided not to for this time because I tend not to make the same card twice. So I'll use this background and put something else on it for somebody else. But for my little niece Mary, I did cut out this little girl in her dress at 4 inches. And the balloons are also from the Best Friends cartridge. And I cut them each out at true size 1 and I think it was about 1.3 inches, and then I ran them through the Cuttlebug. So for the paper for the background and for the girl in the dress, I used the Basil cardstock that I got from HSN during the Imagine launch. But for these two, I think this was actually some Provo Craft white textured cardstock, and I ran them through 2 different Cuttlebug folders. I ran it through Swiss dots and polka dots. And then I just used some Paper Tray Ink Rustic Jute button twine. I taped it to the back of the balloons and used some zip dry paper glue to adhere it to the hand and on the dress, and then I tied a little bow around it. To make my birthday wishes tag, I used this EK Success Punch, but I had just a little strip of paper around the right size for the sentiment. And then I just went ahead and lined this up in the corners and punched to get the little notches in the corners. So you can use your punches in other ways to make sure that they're just the right size for your sentiments. You don't have to use the size you're given. There we go. And then I just used some Recollections brads here. The sentiment is from Paper Tray Ink, and it's from the Birthday Bash Sentiments stamp set, and I stamped it with dark chocolate ink. So I hope you enjoyed this. Give you a little idea of how you can use your Imagine in a different way, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.